It starts with a memory, a song, a scent. It happens because the human brain is wired to seek connection, comfort, and meaning, especially when you've been emotionally wounded. If you grew up in an environment where love was inconsistent, it means your emotions were real. But it doesn't mean they were healthy. Our minds often mistake absence for value. If you poured so much of yourself into that person, your energy, your love, your time, it's easy to believe that losing them means losing part of yourself. And in that silence, the mind reaches for whatever feels familiar, even if it's unhealthy. We start comparing every new person to them. We reject those who are kind and consistent because we become addicted to emotional highs and lows. This is not because the hurt person wants pain. You are not dramatic for wanting consistency, respect, and care. When you start to see yourself clearly, you begin to realize that the person you've been romanticizing could never truly meet you where you are. But now, it's time to love yourself deeper than the wound they left behind. You were settling for crumbs when you deserved a feast. You were hoping someone would finally see your value, when really, it was your job to see it first. It's because emotional chaos is what feels familiar, and therefore, falsely comforting. But healing means making peace with calm. But you don't need to hold on to pain to prove that something mattered. You can let go, and still honor the lesson. You can move forward, and still respect what you felt. Healing doesn't mean forgetting, it means remembering everything, and choosing peace over pain. You deserve love that feels safe. You deserve clarity, not confusion. And you deserve a future that isn't built on fixing someone who broke you. You are allowed to miss them. But you're also allowed to never go back. It means recognizing that love without fear is not boring, it's safe. And safety is what your heart has always deserved. So instead of grieving and healing, we try to hold on. We turn them into something sacred in our mind, even if they were careless with our heart. But that's the truth. Someone who truly loved you would not have made you feel small, unseen, or unworthy. Love doesn't have to hurt to be real. That belief, that love must come with suffering, is one of the most damaging myths we hold on to. We miss people because they filled a space in our life, not necessarily because they deserve to be there. And if we're not careful, we start rewriting history. We create a mental highlight reel of the relationship, leaving out the scenes where we were crying alone, begging for honesty, or walking on emotional eggshells. Where attention had to be earned, or where affection came with conditions, your brain may have linked love with emotional struggle. Not just the sweet words they said, but the entire picture, who they really were, how they made you feel consistently, and how you felt after they left. Write it down if you have to. Look at the red flags you ignored. Remind yourself of the emotional patterns that drained you. Because if you only tell yourself half the truth, you'll stay trapped in a fantasy. And that fantasy will keep you tied to someone who didn't value you. So now, as an adult, when someone makes you feel confused, unsafe, or emotionally small, you don't walk away. You chase them. You think, if I can just get them to love me, maybe I'll finally feel enough. That's not love. That's reenactment. Your brain is replaying a familiar script, hoping this time the ending will be different. But it won't. Because real love doesn't come wrapped in pain. Real love doesn't make you question your worth. The mind doesn't always store pain in a straight line. It remembers intensity. It clings to what was once good, and often blurs out what was bad. This psychological process is called trauma bonding. It's when emotional highs and lows become so entangled that you confuse love with pain. You begin to believe that the moments of affection were proof of something deeper, even if they were surrounded by emotional neglect, manipulation, or inconsistency. And the more you focus on those isolated good moments, the harder it becomes to walk away, because you've created a fantasy that only shows you half the truth. A sudden flashback of their laugh or how they once looked at you, and for a moment, your heart aches in a way that feels almost sweet. You forget the nights you cried. You forget the pain, the silence, the way they slowly chipped away at your self-worth. Instead, you remember how they held your hand that one time when you were anxious. Or how they made you feel seen in a world that constantly ignored you. And in that moment, despite everything, you miss them. You want them back. You tell yourself it wasn't that bad. You wonder if maybe, just maybe, they did love you in their own way. That right there is the trap. The emotional trick of romanticizing someone who hurt you. And if you don't learn to see that clearly, you'll keep crawling back to the same pain disguised as love. So today, let us talk about why we romanticize the people who broke us, and how to finally stop doing it. Romanticizing someone who hurt you doesn't happen because you're weak. Another reason we romanticize people who hurt us is because of unresolved emotional wounds. It's also important to realize that longing and missing someone don't always mean they were good for you. Missing someone means something mattered. Romanticizing also shows up when we tie our identity to the relationship. And sometimes, we romanticize people simply because we fear being alone. Loneliness can be loud, especially after heartbreak. Breaking this cycle starts with one difficult but necessary step: telling yourself the whole truth. Not just the good parts. You must also reconnect with your self-worth. Remind yourself that you are not hard to love. You are not too much or not enough. Romanticizing people who hurt you is not love, it's emotional memory holding on to what felt good, while ignoring what hurt. If this message hit home for you, tell me in the comments. You're not weak for loving deeply. You're just human.